focus. Am I looking this big?
You never look good.
Thank you. Right. Can we please just go around the room and introduce ourselves, just your name, who you are, where you come from. We'll start with Lisa. Her voice is nice and warm already.
Okay, good morning everyone. My name is Boniswa. I am playing a role of a sergeant at arms. I am a member in this club. Thank you.
Good morning everybody. My name is Hamza. The reason I came to Toastmasters is to become more confident and learn new skills. Thank you.
My name is Marika. Well, I am Greek from Egypt. And I am the granny of Peter.
No.
My name is Irene and I'm Peter's mommy.
That's your birthday today.
Yes, birthday! Happy birthday!
Good morning, my name is Harold Robinson. I'm a member of the club. I was president last year in the dark days, but now I'm past president and the club is much better.
Thoughtful.
Ouch. Good morning everyone. My name is Jane Mokwena and I am visiting from Bacon and Egg Toastmasters Club.
Good morning everyone, my name is Tambu, I'm a member of this club and I am currently serving as secretary. Today I will be taking on the role of topic master.
Morning everyone, my name is Nanzi, also a member of this club and I'll be an up-counter today.
Morning everyone, my name is Sinkiwe. I'm a visiting member from another club in Durban. I've recently moved here, so looking for a new home.
Welcome.
Morning everyone, my name is Seko, I'm a guest and I'm from Roodepoort.
Morning everyone, my name is Fortune. I've been a member since April and today I'll be your timekeeper.
Good morning everyone, my name is Didier. I'm a guest like her. I think at the beginning of the month I went to the Dimension Data Toastmaster Club, so I'm just looking around and see which one I will be able to join.
Thank you.
Good morning everyone, my name is Kanyani Zazewa. I'm a visitor today from Stanampen National Club.
Morning everyone, my name is Peter. I'm a member for the last day of this club and I'm saying a speech today.
Hi there, my name is Ine and I'm the Vice President of Memberships. I've joined Toastmasters because I have a stutter and I'd like to work on my speech to overcome this. And we wish you a happy meeting.
Good morning, my name is Diane Wabe. I'm a member of the Bryanston Club. I'm going to be doing a prepared speech today. It's one of my favorites, so have mercy.
Good morning everybody, my name is Andrew. I'm a guest. I live in Paulsville.
Good morning everyone. My name is Avrina and I'm a member of this club. I am a grammar police today.
Good morning everyone. My name is Sando Gavela and I stay in Clearwater and I'm also guest today.
Hello, I'm Johan Kelly, a long-time member of this club now, and I'm sitting next to one of our founder members. Carry on, Rivers.
Thank you for introducing me, Johan, because I'm very shy to speak. I'm Kobus Marburg, a member, started with this club in 2014, then took a little bit of a break, and I'm back now. Today I'm taking the role of evaluation chair.
Right. I'm Lucinda, member of this club. How's that? And I'm your Toastmaster today. So you'll be hearing lots about me. I think that's enough.
Me at the back here.
Yes. I wish you had joined the meeting. There's a chair right here.
Oh, I'll come and join you.
Thank you, Adrian.
My name is Adrian.
I'm the treasurer. I'll let you all know we are solvent. We've got money in the bank. I always have to remind everybody who haven't paid. We've got 6 members who've already sort of paid up for next year. So I will be regularly just checking out who's not paid and giving phone calls and writing through emails and stuff.
And my name is Mandy. I'm the Vice President of Education for this club. So this morning on the program, those are the apologies on the program, so nobody else has handed in apologies and nothing on our program has changed. So for our, yay!
VP.
So for our business session this morning, we've obviously got our up and coming fees to be paid, and they need to be paid by the end of September.
Yes, I'd like to have a few days grace. So in the emails I'm sending out, let's try and make the 20th of September as a date that gives.
Perfect. So the 20th of September, please pay your fees up. Adrian, do you mind telling us who has paid the 6 members? Can you remember who they are?
Not really. Put your hands up. I know one.
Okay, I'll put my hand up.
It was me because I was first.
No, I think I was first.
No, he was first.
Okay, so Corvus, me. Is that it? Out of all the ones that are here?
Yeah. I think there's 6 that are paid up.
Tembo,
I'm sure is paid up.
we were looking for the 6 people that are paid. Did you pay?
I paid.
Okay.
So I think that, it's a good start.
It's a good start.
What's the minimum number we've got to have to be?
13.
13.
Okay. So guys, please renew your membership. Get your payments in by the 20th of September. Adrian will be reminding you and checking. For those who have paid, thank you very much. I've got a nice surprise in October for a meeting that we're going to be having in October, and later today you will find out what that's all about. So I hope you are all excited. Right, so let's get on to, I've got 2 awards to hand out today. There are 2 certificates as well, but I will leave that to Lynn as our president to sign those certificates and hand them out at our next meeting. But today I can do our 2 icebreakers. So our first icebreaker completed last meeting was Sabrina. So Sabrina, can you come and get your ribbon? And thank you. We congratulate you. Icebreaker goes to Peter. Hey, we're slapping everywhere. Did you get it?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I love it. Thank you both very much. We thoroughly enjoyed your icebreakers, and Peter, we are looking forward to your speech, and we shall miss you. It's very tragic.
Likewise.
Very sad. Yep, and if you come back, you know where to come. Yes, hope. Right, I'd like to hand over to our Toastmaster for the morning, so please help me welcome Lucilla.
Good morning, everybody!
Good morning!
Woo, one more time, good morning!
Morning!
We can be grumpy and we can be quiet and we can be grey human beings, but we also can be bouncy and happy. That's why I asked to bring some colour today. You know, just colour up a little bit, you know? Just take the clothes out of the cupboard. It's amazing you look yourself in the mirror and you're wearing bright colours compared to grey, black, brown, blue. Tops. So I chose the theme today. I actually made an error in choosing the theme. It was my language error, but it was leap into action. And what's so important in life is we like to be cautious and we don't like to take too many risks. Because humans, we're actually quite into pleasure and everything being okay and nice and perfect. So we're not too keen to go and take those flying leaps in life. we like to take cautious little steps and put our foot in the water. How cold or hot is it? And if it feels okay, then we take it up, put our whole foot in. And so that's how we go in life. But in times in life, we need to take leaps. We are forced. Sometimes we sit right in the cliff face of our life and we look over and we think, well, there's nowhere to go. Can't go back, so you've got to take the jump. And there's those moments in life where probably are the most spectacular times and biggest breakthroughs you'll personally experience. So what is a leap? To take a leap means to act immediately. To step is to step forward. But to leap means you're going to go immediate. That is like an alarm goes off. There's a fire somewhere. It's that kind of same impulse. It's high action and movement. You have to have momentum. It's no cautious little quiet way to go about moving forward in life. A leap takes a lot of energy and it takes way more guts. It's determined and it's committed. Way more daring and less fearful. When you take that jump in life, you know you've done something quite exceptional. You're either going to fail completely or you're going to succeed. And you actually throw it out there and wait to see what happens, like throwing the bones and seeing how they fall. So I'm going to give everyone an opportunity. You can get a nice little bouncy ball, smiley balls, from my stint from Santon the other night. So you've got 20 seconds. I'm going to ask that just a quick, and we're going to go quickly, and then I'm going to stop it. And you can, as many as they're balls, we can do 8 of them. 20 seconds. I will start to give you 20 seconds to think about it. It's almost like a warm-up for your impromptu speech coming up, your table topics. Tell me about a time in life that you've had to make a leap. Something happened in your life. You were faced with the odds, a divorce, a work situation where you knew you couldn't go on. Something in your life that was a defining moment where you knew that you had to take a major leap of faith or trust into the unknown. So I'm going to start with you. One of mine that I did. Like 4 years ago, I was sitting in the corporate environment, medical rep, and I knew that it was a miserable life that I had. And I went and I studied uplift coaching, I studied laughter yoga, a whole lot of things. And I decided that it wasn't worth it anymore staying at a job that I wasn't happy at, and to get out and to pursue a life of joy and happiness. Okay, so that is what I did. So I gave up my job, I had nothing, zero, and I took that leap. Okay, so who's next? Anyone? 20 seconds on the clock. Quibus.
As you see in this plate here in front of me, it was sort of my last supper, because this week I have been diagnosed with diabetes. So that was my last bacon and eggs and last toast and everything, and this is now my leap into action to sort out my life.
Excellent. Yes. Well done. Well done. Anyone else? It's great to hear stories. Yes.
When I was 20 years old and I left KZN with no family, coming to Johannesburg, all I had was my suitcase, and I've been here since then.
Awesome. I love these stories. This shows you the resilience of humanity, what we've got inside ourselves. Anybody else like to share? Bring it to the party. Yes.
Okay, all along I thought my English was not good enough to study in front of people. So last year I decided to join Toastmasters and give it a shot.
Awesome. Love it. Awesome. Well done. Who else has taken a major step in life? I saw a hand. Adrian.
Yeah, 2002 I got divorced. This is an introduction to my talk. And I had to take a leap. I started dating again. Ladies came into my life for a reason and a season, and I got married again in 2011.
Awesome. Anybody else? Please, someone. Yeah, Peter.
Oh yeah, I'm going to say it first. I was just looking forward to that yellow ball.
So stress ball.
So probably over a long period of time, lots of work, particular stresses where you end up working on Saturdays. Like today, I was working for 3 hours before coming to here. These are the things that I'm in the process of changing, and that's one of the reasons for my leaving at the moment. And that's one of the changes that I'm making in my life.
Okay, there you go. So you want to go? Anyone else want to share something remarkable? A divorce, a failure, something went terribly wrong. Your health, you ended up in ICU. Something went wrong, you had a loss. something happened in your life and you came back, you showed resilience, and you came back rising from your adversity. Any more? 3 to go. Any more? Maddie!
So I'm very claustrophobic, extremely, and I hate flying. But I had an opportunity to go to Italy, which I really wanted to do. So I left Interaction, overcame my fear, got on the plane, and now the travel bug's bitten me, even though I'm still claustrophobic and scared of airplanes.
Awesome. Anyone else want to add? Want to share a bit of your story? Bring it to the party? Yes, please do.
In 2012, I was quite young. I started what I thought was my dream job and what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I failed miserably at it. I didn't enjoy it at all. And I quit that without a job or without anything in prospect because I knew I needed to save myself before I went crazy in what I thought was the perfect job.
Awesome. Sorry, bad throw. Let's go back and go to the drum. Yes or no?
So, as you all know, I have a stutter, and my whole life my speech got the better of me because I was not able to talk when I really wanted to, right? And I wasn't me. And last year I took a leap of faith and I did the Maguire speech program. I've been working really, really hard on my speech. I always believed I was an introvert, and then last year I realized that I'm actually an extrovert.
Okay, here we go. Round of applause, everybody. When people show courage and they show their fearless determination in this world, they inspire others into action. And that's what a leap of action is all about. When I come out as a Toastmaster and I come speak to you and I tell you my story, as we do in Toastmasters, we all tell our story, inspire others. And sometimes people we don't even know, their lives that we touch every single day. Yesterday, I decided, because I'm in H6 division as a coach, I decided to do a spot, literal visit to one of the close corporate clubs in my area. And I arrived and everybody was like the most down, glum feeling in this place. I'm sure it's not pleasant working in this corporate. But I decided to go and inject them. I literally took like a vitamin B complex injection into that place, and I just went boom into that place. And I kind of left because I had to get back to the hospital. I was actually working, and I just decided to pop in for half an hour. And by last night, I started getting messages from what my half an hour in their club had done for their club. Old members had heard about what had happened. What had I done in that time period? I got up and I'd inspired them back into action. And I said, you're given this for free, Toastmasters. What you got to do with it? It's for free. And this is the most incredible curriculum one can ever be given. It's a gift, and anyone here can attest to that. It's incredible because you grow so much. If you put yourself in wholeheartedly, if you leap into Toastmasters, you literally can supercharge at a pace that nothing else can do for you. So I'm a big advocate, as you can see, of Toastmasters and passionate about it. The big saying, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Famous speech. And sometimes in life we think we're so small, we think we're so inconsequential. We like the little cat with the lion facing us. We think we're this little cat, and what impact are we going to have in life? What are we going to do? But sometimes one step, yes, that half an hour, has changed a Toastmaster club significantly. It was just a half an hour of my life. It didn't take much. But sometimes the things you do, it might be a smile you give, it might be somebody you pick up the phone to, it might be something in your work, it might be anything. That might be a defining moment for the next person. And that one step you take might be a cumulative steps that others are taking, and it might advance humankind. And that's why I'm an advocate always for being a change maker. that every day you have the opportunity to change the world for the better. It's, are you going to leap into action and make it happen, or are you going to sit back and say, well, somebody else can do it, and I'm going to stay neat in my little comfort zone and my safety box. So let's get on with it. Today we are going on, because it's not only about leap and action. I'm just going to use this word of the day. May we hold our equanimity during our speeches and evaluations today. How's that, grammarian? Okay, cool. I'm going to introduce you to the role players for the day. Those people that play along and play part and essential. Any Toastmaster meeting, we need the role players to be part of this entire meeting for it to be a success. First up, evaluation chair, Kobus Myberg. Please share with us your role.
My role today is to convene all the evaluators for all the speeches. We discuss around the table when you guys are not present to point out how we can help you and how you have worked very well on your speeches. Give you feedback on that so that you can just continue growing on your path and becoming a better Toastmaster.
Thank you. Next up, it's all about the time. Keeping on time. Something this week has been driving me nuts. Helps that don't keep on time. Fortune, please explain your role.
My job as a timekeeper today is to help prepared speakers and impromptu speakers as well as evaluators to keep on track. So for a 5 to 7 minute speech, at 5 minutes the light will be green. We are using this device to track our time. At 5 minutes it will be green, at 6 minutes it will be orange, and 7 minutes red. For 6 to 8 minutes, at 6 minutes it will be green, 7 orange, 8 red. For evaluators, at 2 minutes it will be green, 2.5 minutes yellow, and 3 minutes red. And for impromptu speakers, for our table topics, at 1 minute it will be green, 1 minute 30 seconds it will be yellow, and at 2 minutes it will be red.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This Toastmaster meeting, the 3 people that make sure that this meeting is a success in timing and structure is the timekeeper, the Toastmaster, and then your sergeant. We're the 3 people that are in, it's our responsibility to make sure that we start and we end on time, and we kind of hold the structure going through. The other role players are all significant, but it is a responsibility in timing and structure. Our grammarian for the day is Abrina. Please explain this wonderful word of the day and what your duties are as the police. Grammarian, please.
Okay, so my role today is that of a grammarian, and the role entails me helping us improve on our grammar, the use of words, and to comment on the use of the English language. The word of the day is equanimity, and that is a noun. It means calmness and composure, especially in difficult situations. And an example could be, she accepted both the good and bad with equanimity. If you can use the word of the day, it will be highly appreciated. Thank you.
We will accept your challenge with equanimity. Sorry, guys. I think for the most cheesiest, actually no, let's not say anything about that mug of the day, but let's leave it. Okay, let's leave that one. The next person that's really important as a duty, because we love those crutch words, is our R counter, Snanzi.
Good morning, everyone, again. I'm going to do the R counter, as has been said. And my role, I'm just going to read this out, is to listen to all the speakers and to make notes of words that are used as pause fillers. Words such as well, so, words like that. So the whole intention is not so much to catch the speakers, but to actually help the speakers to be aware that they are using those words, so that when you actually, to take away for that is that when you are actually speaking, you are aware that you use those words. So I'll then give my report when we called upon to do so.
Thank you. What would Toastmasters be without table topics? Tambu is the table topics master of the day. Please do explain your role.
Certainly, Madam Toastmaster. It's about for you, Topic Master. My role this morning is to run the table topic session, which will happen in the second half of the morning. This is your opportunity to practice thinking on your feet. I have prepared topics for those that are keen to participate. Keen to participate is Table Topics Master code for twisting your arm. I may approach you during the break to give you a topic, to encourage you to take up a topic. I strongly encourage you to take a topic, to respond with equanimity. You will only have to speak for 60 seconds. If you really like to talk, 2 minutes.
Thank you. And what do we wait for every single week? I don't think many people know the kind of work that goes into being a speaker. A lot of work, sometimes a little bit of nerves. Doesn't matter how you advance, you still come to meetings and sometimes you have an odd little, as I call, not a butterfly, but a flutterby. And let's always give our attention and our time and our respect to those that have really prepared and come up here to do their work as a speaker today. Prepared speeches. Our first speaker of the day, in his last speech at the club, which is very sad, and he's your second speech, will be your level 2. Actually, I'm going to leave that for your evaluator to explain what you're on. He'll have all your things. So we're celebrating Peter's mom's birthday today, and guess what? I'm reading his intro, and guess what? She's in the audience, and with her, yeah, with your yaya. Hey, did you say yaya?
That's right.
Grandmother. So we've got to give them a round of applause. His speech today will teach the audience some simple, easy to implement tactics to negotiating everyday life and have fun doing so. His evaluator is Mandy. Mandy, please share the requirements for your speech.
Sure, thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Peter is completing his second speech, level 1, in the Pathways Visionary, Presentation Visionary Pathway. The purpose of your speech is to select any topic, receive feedback, and then apply that feedback on the following speech. Maybe you'll do that wherever you land. And your time is 5 to 7 minutes. I will obviously be watching for your criteria of organized speech, clarity, tone, eye contact. Good luck.
Peter with negotiation tactics. Negotiation tactics, Peter.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, audience, guests, and me. I'm going to try and apply some equanimity to myself at the moment. So let me crack on. Chris Voss was the lead hostage negotiator for the FBI for over 20 years, helping them develop all their tactics that they've been using until this current day, from the early 60s, I would say. He bases all of his experience and his research and his on-the-field actions are all based on tactical empathy. So, going from a forceful situation, they've realized that the best way to negotiate is through tactical empathy and sincerity. All of his research and his work over the years has culminated in a book called Never Split the Difference. And the reason why he says never split the difference in a negotiation is because if you had to apply that logic to a hostage negotiation, and the kidnappers have got 4 hostages and they're asking for $1 million, you would never say to them, well, I'll give you $500,000 for 2 of the hostages. You want it all or nothing, isn't it? You're not going to give up some hostages. So the principle is that in any negotiation that you can go into, you should theoretically, with good logic and good reason, be able to get what you want in any situation. So after his time in the FBI, he moved into business negotiation consultancy, and another 20 years from there, he's developed this fantastic methodology, and ultimately all of his information is in this book. So to go into some of the methods that he uses through negotiation, which I can't go through the whole book, but there's a couple items that I'm going to pick out, some tactics that you can use in your everyday lives, kind of simple things to start practicing, which will help you. The first one is mirroring. I can never say that word correctly. Mirroring. And the idea behind mirroring is that when you're sitting with your counterpart, we'll call them counterparts, and you're having a negotiation about whatever scenario, and I'll give you an example just now. When they say something to you which counters your offer or gives you an extra thing, you literally copy, you repeat back to them the first or last 3 words of their statement. So, as an example, I think you should give me the rest of the money. You should give me the rest of the money. I should give you the rest of the money. And then you go into silence, and when you give into that silence and you've kind of questioned what they've said, or you've repeated what they've said to you, to them, they start questioning it in their mind. And for some unknown reason, they automatically start trying to justify and explain what they've just said to you, ultimately over-verbalizing and coming back and going, okay, well, actually, maybe you can give me half. Or, they start, verbal diarrhea or whatever that's called. So mirroring is a small little thing that you use through conversation with sincerity and tactical empathy. When you're someone talking to you, just basically repeat the last word or the most 3 important words of their statement, and it allows them to try and justify what they've just said to you. Mirroring. The next tactic is called labels. So you're speaking to someone and you're in a negotiation, and a label is something that you use to accuse. It could be falsely, it could be truly, but you use a label to accuse someone of something just so that you can understand where they are coming from. Because every time you go into a negotiation, you don't completely know where the other person is coming from. So use a label, which basically it goes something, it usually starts with a sentence of seem. So you use the word seem. It seems like you don't appreciate what I've offered. It seems like you don't appreciate my offer. It seems like you have already made your mind up on this. And then you go back into silence. So it seems like you've basically said to them, I think this is what you say. I think this is what you've said. Then they'll go, no, and then they'll go more into explanation. And all of these little tools, so mirroring labels are used to basically help offload their own process and give you that insight into where you're going to move in that negotiation. So labeling works very well, again, with tactical empathy in that process. And lastly, the one that I'm going to explain, which is not by far not the last method in this book, is called collaborative questions. So these are, sometimes you're going into a negotiation. You have to describe, you're going to be sitting across the table from someone. So you come up with and you know what the scenario is. So you come up with a number of questions, which generally start with how and what. So how and what questions almost do the same thing, but this is, with your how and your what collaborative questions are there to guide your counterpart into giving you the resolution that you want to receive. So in a hostage negotiation, they'll go, we've got your son, let's say, we've held him hostage, and we want $1 million. So one of your questions will go, and this is quite a difficult thing to get right. You have to be quite headstrong and quite forceful, because people believe that, questioning someone that's putting you under pressure doesn't give you any options. But but in actual fact, in action, it does. So you say something like, they say, I want $1 million for my son, for your son. How must I get the money? Well, you're right, I haven't thought about all of that sort of stuff. Let me come back to you. And then you stall time, you get them thinking a little bit more. They might say, I don't even care. Give me the money. Okay, fine. But what must I do? So what and how questions. So it gets that person. So in the book, he dealt with hostage negotiations where they were asking for $250,000 and got them down to like $4,320 and the people back safely. Just based on these tactical empathy type tactics. And to use these things, I'm still in practice of doing it. Obviously, I'm training on my speaking and all of that sort of stuff. But the idea is that you become almost like fluent in doing just through any conversation. using these tactics, not in a manipulative way, but with the ultimate goal of coming to the best solution for everyone involved. Because at the end of the day, no one, they're only doing it for money. Maybe they're not really hostage killers. Maybe they're just hostage people that are desperate. Maybe the salesman that you're buying your car from, where you want a big discount on, actually does want to make a sale today. But his boss is actually just going to say to him, well, you have to get that amount or nothing else. Whereas if you kind of guide him to, yes, take less for what he was asking for, it might still end up in a sale for him at the end of the day. So using tactical empathy and sincerity and applying mirrors, labels, collaborated questions, and a whole host of other small behind-the-scenes type methods, you'll eventually come to good negotiating skills. Thank you.
With our theme in mind for Bryanston Breakfast Club, for those who know, better than you think. And that was better than you think.
Very, very good. We need to replace Fortune as our timekeeper. He's got a family emergency he has to get to. Hamza, do you mind taking over? Thank you.
To the lights. All the best, Fortune. Sure, move it forward.
Recess. One thing this club is well known for, they won in most innovative club for this division for a reason. This club knows how to be agile and flexible. They know how to, in the midst of things happening, like an emergency, how to make a plan quickly and like a cat land back on your feet. The whole thing about equanimity is the fact of keeping cool and calm and collected. And this club has shown this to me a number of times and why I joined this club. Because there were days that things were all upside down. And trust me, there are people in the room that know that. That's about life. Life throws lemons. Life throws curveballs all the time. How are we going to collect ourselves and how are we going to make a positive impact on our lives and turn chaos or adversity into opportunity? And that's all about the whole thing about leaping into action. I love Peter's speech, Tactics for Life. We can learn from it, and everything is about negotiation. My worst pet peeve word, compromise. But we have to navigate through the waters of life all the time, because there are people around us. People with different desires and wishes around us every minute of our day. And life is about that. We've got difficult waters sometimes to navigate through, and sometimes we've got to ask those tough questions to ourselves. It's not even going into a negotiation situation. We hopefully never in this room will be faced with a ransom or we have to be held hostage in some situation for money. But we have to negotiate in our companies, in our work, in our relationships, in all parts of our lives. Our second speaker today is Nandi. She's a vibrant, driven lady, which we got from our icebreaker. She has a success-conscious mind that propels her to leap into action. A bit too serious about life sometimes, but great fun to be around. Her evaluator, Anne Neves, please share the requirements for her speech.
The purpose of the project is to present a speech on any topic, receive feedback and apply this to the very next speech. This will be Nandi's second speech.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Nandi with success consciousness, Nandi.
Can you see it? Can you see yourself being the best author of all times? 15 million copies sold worldwide, and your name is on the book. Can you hear it? Can you hear the stadium full of people, hundreds and thousands of people flown from faraway countries just to come and hear you speak? Can you feel the anticipation? They are calling your name. Success consciousness. This is a state of mind where nothing else will work, but only you will succeed. Not that you might succeed, but that you will absolutely guaranteed that you will succeed. W. Henley, the poet, gave us the famous quote, "You are the master of your fate and the captain of your soul." What the poet was informing us here is that we are in charge of our thoughts, thereby in control of our actions. Your mind gravitates to the dominant thoughts in your mind. Your brain gravitates to the dominant thoughts in your mind. What thoughts are dominating your mind? Are they thoughts of success? Thoughts of fear? Thoughts of past failures? Napoleon Hill wrote in his famous book, Think and Grow Rich, 13 steps outlining how to get to success. I will call them principles. But for the sake of the speech, I'm only going to focus on 2. First one being desire. Desire is not a wish. Desire is the first step towards all achievement. Desire is a state of mind where your obsession to achieve something will lead you to steps, definite steps to that achievement, and persistence that recognizes no failure. Thomas Henderson is an example of that, inventor of the first electric lamp. He said, I found 100 ways that did not work. Then I knew I was going to succeed. To elaborate on the step or the principle of desire.
Sorry. Gee. Sorry.
To elaborate on desire, I'm going to make an example of desire to be a multi-billionaire. What are the steps that you can follow to ensure that desire takes you to success? First step, you must know the exact amount of money that you want to have. Not that you want to have lots of money, but the exact amount of money. The second step, date. By when do you want to have this money? Thirdly, what are you intending to give in order to have this desire met? What plans are you going to put in place to ensure that this desire is met? You write it down and you recite it twice daily. Let me make an example about myself. I want to own property of $500 million by 31st December 2020. I am willing to pay whatever money I need to pay to get a mentor who is already a property model to mentor me. I am going to ensure that I attend every network session where I can meet potential investors or equity partners. I am going to expand my network of brokers within the real estate. I am going to attend every class that speaks about property, whether in South Africa or abroad. I have written down these steps, and I have just recited to you for the first time. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's how you get desire to success. The second last principle for the purposes of the speech is faith. Mr. Napoleon Hill says, faith, love, and sex are the major positive emotions that a human being has. Well, he has done his research, I don't know. But faith is the basis of all miracles, the basis of all mysteries. It cannot be explained, analyzed, or understood by science. And just to elaborate on this principle of faith, I'm going to narrate a short story that Mr. Hill speaks about in his book about his son. His son was born 12 years. And obviously the doctors told him that, well, Mr. Hill, your son will never hear. There are things in life that you can do nothing about. Mr. Hill says, yes, I understand, but I believe I can do something about this. He says he put in 4 hours every day for the first 4 years of his son in prayer, praying for his son's hearing. 4 hours daily for 4 years. When his son was 4 years old, they tested him. He had 65% of his hearing. When he went to college, a professor who was interested in his case invented a hearing aid that was specialized just for his case. That helped him to have 100% of his hearing. Faith believes the impossible. Ladies and gentlemen, there are hundreds and thousands of people with average IQs, poor background in terms of education, no resources, but they have made a success of their lives. Only because they had a success-conscious mind, the ability to continuously focus on what you want to achieve, not on what you don't have or you can't see.
Better than you think. Blimey dear, how many days we got left of saying that theme, but it's a brilliant theme. Because what Nandi shared with us now is really key to finding success in life. You can leap all you want, but you've got to have a plan. You've got to have goals, and it's got to be decisive. You can't, if you just go and throw yourself over a cliff somewhere, but you've got no way to go to land, you've got no plan, where you're going to go to, what the next steps ahead of that, you're not going to get there, unfortunately. It is a reality. But you've also got to be flexible within those goals. You've got to move with them. Because sometimes what we want, we go and we think we're going somewhere, and then life happens. They're curveballs. Things happen along the way. And I love the words about you are master of your fate. I often say master of your destiny. And I mind captain of your ship, captain of your soul. That is the truth. And we are in control of our actions. When you feel like this world has got the better of you and everything's against you and you're just in this kind of overwhelm, you're never ever going to land on those feet and make decisive action, take a decisive action in life. Our third speaker for the day is Adrian. He's a retired scientist researcher who has a PhD in fundamental physics. His main claim to fame in academia, academia, is being tutor to Brian May, as most of you might know, us older generation will, the lead guitarist of Queen. He's married twice, so he has some pearls of wisdom to share with us. And if we recall, he's already done part 1 of this, and now he's going on to part 2, because he had 2 wives. So part 1, and then again, wife 1, which could be an epic saga, and then we went to part 2. And he's leapt into action much in marriage, as we would know, and his evaluator is Harold, if you would please share the requirements.
Certainly, Lucinda. As you said, Adrian did the first speech and he received evaluation from a gentleman called Haupt, and what he has to do now is to apply what Haupt suggested in the evaluation. So I'll be looking to see that Adrian applies what Haupt suggested and anything else that I need to.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Adrian Hind with Marriage for Dummies Part 2. Marriage for Dummies Part 2.
Thank you.
Adrian Hind.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I love the way that Lucinda inspires us. So I'm going to take this absolutely mighty leap. And then I'll take a deep breath to get into a state of equanimity. So let's go. Let's start here in terms of marriage. Now, some of you may have not heard part 1, and one of the lessons I hope I try to get across there is that men's brains and women's brains are different from each other, and but is also, all I can say to that latter one is how does it go now? How does it go now? Vive la différence, says he, looking at all the pretty girls here. Now, as I made out in my first speech there, women's brains are like spaghetti or tangled up glow sticks.
Really?
And signals rumble all over the place there. And men's brains are like a waffle. And in the waffle are little glow balls in each dimple there. And those little lights that go on just go clunk, 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 clunk. So men and women are different from each other. And because of these differences, we have situations where our spouse annoys us for one reason or another. I mean, take an example here. I'm sitting at my sort of computer and the computer's playing up and I'm trying to get it fixed. I'm getting frustrated. My wife says, "Hey, Adrian, come on, can you clean the dishes here for me?" I can start getting frustrated, upset. And a situation I brought up before was that when I go shopping with my wife, there's always a case of she reads the little labels and everything else there, and it takes forever to do the shopping. So those little things annoy me somewhat. So that's basically a summary where I tried to get, but the important thing in that first part was to get you to write a list of the things that annoy you about your spouse. Write them down, but do it with a smile on your face and have a good time, have a good fun about it. And now, today I want to talk about being aware, being nice and kind and empathetic towards your wife, because this is the key to a successful marriage, and it's not easy. So when I talk about empathy, one of the things that can be difficult at times is that because of the way our brains work, signals go out from your spouse, and you've got these antennae there, sort of trying to pick up what's actually going on, and that can be a little difficult to sort of handle at times there. Because those situations, your mind is like a control system in your body. The signals are coming in, and like a control system, you can overreact or underreact in the way you respond to your spouse. And you can have a situation arising where they call it the hyper empathy syndrome, where you actually find yourself sort of getting so critical and worked up about the situation that you find yourself in. So one has to have a happy balance in the way you handle your relationship with your wife. Now, being a scientist, I know all about control systems. You know, if you overcompensate, things can go unstable, and if you don't do too much, then you know you don't have any effect at all. So there's got to be a balance in the way you handle your relationships with your spouse. And now, in terms of that balance there, I think one of the greatest writers, I think, of prose poetry is Kahlil Gibran. Have you heard of him? Kahlil Gibran? You haven't heard of him? He wrote the book called The Prophet.
Oh yes.
And he was never married, but he did have lovers in his life. And but I think he got it right when he said these words. I'm going to quote these words now. Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone, even as the strings of a lute are alone, though they quiver with the same music. Now I think that's a beautiful bit of phrasing there. It adds other words that say the same thing. You've got to have a balance in the way you respond to your spouse. Now, let me sort of get on now in terms of, I think we all have expectations in terms of what we want to do in life. And we have those expectations. And we want to respond to those expectations with kindness and empathy. And now, what I want to get onto now is how can you go about that situation? And I want to give examples now where you can start learning how to get that right balance in your relationship with your spouse. And so I want to sort of get you to try and put down a list of things that you expect of your wife or your husband, and how you would like to sort of respond to those expectations. Now let me sort of take an example, or some examples to give you a bit of an idea. Let me take the example now. I just remember there's a song, it's by Kitty Callan. Kitty Callan, I think her name is, back in the 1950s. Blow a kiss across the room. Say I look nice when I'm not. Little things like that. And she, just back in the 1950s, she was a great fan of my mum. She just loved that song there. And my mum and dad, they were married for, they've been together since she was 16, and they were together when they were in their middle 90s, and they eventually passed away there. Another thing you can sort of write down is, well, we should have a date night once a week. And you know, at Humble Harris, just around the corner, down the road there, they have these 2 for the price of 1 nights out there. So guys, you can make an arrangement to give your wife a nice treat out. So now to end, I'm going to quote from Shakespeare. It's going to be a misquote from Shakespeare, but this is the bottom line. This is from Shakespeare with a few alterations. To thine own self be genuine and kind, and thou canst not then be false to your husband or your wife. Thank you.
Marriage for dummies would maybe refer to the fact that only dummies get married. I'm looking at the title actually with new eyes. So who in this room has never got married? Who in this room has never got married? It certainly is a leap of faith. It certainly is a brave leap, one that I was never prepared to do. And to those that want to go on date nights, and those that want to study the anatomy and the psychology of the other half, I must say I'm glad I'm gay too. Because to study a man on top of being difficult, not having a woman, but having to study another form of brain and how to explain it, I'm actually quite relieved. I say my thank yous today for that. So thanks for that. As always, humorous, and you bring in another whole level into the club. That's what's so beautiful about it. Everyone brings in their authentic voice, their own story, their own life, and they bring it to this table that we share together. And it's always amazing to hear from people with what they bring. Not what you think, what you believe in. Like for me, to hear about a married man discussing that, for me is foreign to me, but it's interesting. And one can enjoy listening to other people's perspective. One can actually start to realize we're living in a diversity, a huge pool in front of us. And hold our equanimity at all times. Our fourth speaker for today, and the name I really battle with, your name, it's Aon. Johan brings his own unique style and wisdom to the club. His story today takes place on a little island in the middle of the Irish Sea, the Isle of Man. The correct name being Mannan. It happens on a farm in the 1800s. People are very superstitious and they believe in all sorts of folk stories. His evaluator, got this mic.
Storytellers want their audiences to experience emotions. And believe it or not, equanimity is also an emotion. So, they want to hear hope, happiness, courage, anger, love, hate. The objectives of Johan's speech today is to understand the techniques available to arouse emotion and to become skilled in arousing emotions while telling a story. Time, 6 to 8 minutes.
Thank you. Johan with a man's yarn. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Oops, sorry, keeping my balance. As Madam Toastmaster said, this story takes place on a farm on the Isle of Man, or Man, in the 1800s, and they were terribly superstitious in those days. The storyteller is a young farm boy called Tom. We had Tom last time as well. The name of the farm is Ballawhaine. All the farms had names. And the thing is, some of the horrible things that people were scared about, a apparition called the Begin. It had human form, covered in coarse black hair, but it was totally evil. The other one was the Tarosta, the water bull. The Morthathoo, the ghostly black dog, come around a corner on a country road by yourself late at night. And there's this dog, big dog like that, snarling at you. And you don't know what to do. And there's no equanimity in that. Anyway, Tom tells us, well, I want you to imagine, first of all, you're sitting in the kitchen of this farmhouse, in the middle of winter over there, pitch black, and a howling gale screaming around the house. The only illumination are 2 candles and the red glow from the peat fire in the hearth. And here, sitting in the little corner next to the fire, is Shanno, Grandpa, smoking his pipe and telling the most dreadful stories about the Begane, for example. The Begane that went and ripped the roof off the St. Trinian's Church over at Colby. He tells about the Glashton, the water horse. There's a poor old farmer, he's had to take all the way into Douglas for some business or other. There's no public transport in those days, and he's wending his way back home over the mountains. And next thing he hears a snort, and hears this beautiful white stallion next to him, walking with him, and he can pat the stallion. And he made a big mistake. He got on the stallion's back. Now if you get on the back of the Glashton, you can never get off. And the Glashton then takes off, goes belting down the mountain, over the cliffs and into the sea. And that's the last of him. And then there's the little people, the fairies. Now these fairies are not like English fairies. They're not cute little fellas with gossamer wings. These are horrible little things with red caps, green jackets and cracking whips and creating mayhem wherever they can. And then the other one, also an evil creature, the Lananshi, a fairy woman, but she wasn't a little fairy, she was probably a bit like Anae there, tall and beautiful. Anyway, what she did, she used to abduct good-looking young men like me. And then she'd seduce them. Now, the Lananshi never got old. But once her victim got old, it was no good to her anymore, she turfed him out and got another one. So the one night, Tom says, there was a terrible storm. Lightning and thunder and the rain bucketing down. I must say, in the 2 years that I was there as a child, I only ever saw lightning once, so lightning's a rare thing there. And he heard his old father shout, "Dongboy, go and get in all them crathers." So he had to go out into the storm and round up the sheep and the cattle and bring them into the haggard, the farmyard. And his father said, "And don't forget the mare and the little foal out in the field by old Danny Claytor's." Danny Claytor was the farmer on the next farm. There Tom's got to go plodding through the storm and getting the old mare, and he's riding back on her back. As he comes up to the four ways, the crossroad, the old mare stops dead in her tracks. And for sure, the Begane was crossing the road not more than 2 jumps ahead. He said, "Oh!" His heart nearly stopped. His hair stood up like a broom. That happened to me once too. He said in his joints froze. He couldn't move. And at last a shout came out of him. And the Begane turned around and said to him, "It's a dirty night, boy." And that the Begane was actually a young fella who was courting a gal up at Ballacrint. And he was taking her home, taking a shortcut home through Ballawhane. And that was the Begane who was frightening all the ones in that district. A fellow who'd been courting a girl. Madam Toastmaster.
You are beautiful. That's all he's right. We're just teasing. He's so charming. It's the energy he brings to the club that makes this club for me so unique and special. It's the different voices, the different people. And that is what brings in a wonderful world to live in. I love a world of diversity. And that's what we heard in our speeches today. Do you agree? Were the speeches great? Yeah. Let's give them another round of applause. Since I can waste a couple of minutes, because I see that we are running actually well within SAA. What? The airlines are proud of me today. Proud of you, on time. What stops you from taking a leap of action? Anyone want to guess?
Fear.
Fear of?
Unknown.
Unknown, I know. I'm coming. Okay, while I'm doing that, please vote. Now I'm seeing the piece of paper. Please vote for your favourite speaker while I gab and while we fetch the pieces. And then if our timekeeper could please give us the times. Thank you.
Peter, 6 minutes 10 seconds. Nandi, 7 minutes 51 seconds. Adrian, 7 minutes 37 seconds. Ian, 6 minutes 35 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you very much for standing in. Thank you. Is that your first time as timekeeper? Yes. And another birthday. For being leaping into action today. You came in quietly. And Mandy must have had that voodoo on you. Because as you walked in, Mandy said, but if I knew you were coming, I would have given you a role. And then the role became yours. So it was all planned. It was destined for today. What stops you? Fear. Fear of the consequences of loss, of embarrassment, of failure, the guilt attached to it. If I take that leap of action and I might leave others behind or what it might do to somebody else, the guilt I might live with. Procrastination is a big one. Doubt, self-worth, lack of courage, bravery, your own limits and conditioning, what you're being told. Remember as a child, don't do that, be careful, you're going to get burnt, you're going to get hurt. So we tend to hang back quite a bit. And the fear, and the fear of failure. We are so scared to fail. You know what in life? The best thing to do is fail in life, is you learn. And that can give you the input, that momentum actually to succeed majorly if you use those losses to your benefit. I don't mind. Let's multitask. So how to leap into action? What do you need? You need to be fit. I'm really good at multitask. You've got to be fit. You've got to be prepared. You've got to be awake. You've got to be aware. You need to be present, focused. You've got to have courage. You've got to have confidence. You've got to be determined and committed to that leap you take. Now I'm going to take a leap and I'm going to go, then I'm actually going to come short. So, it's up to you. Think about it. We have now our break. When the evaluators will go out with Kobus will take out the evaluators. He'll be chairing the session. The votes are in for speakers. Have a nice networking session and chat about it. Are you going to take a leap of faith today in an area of your life, or are you going to stay in the box? I'll see you afterwards. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the meeting is about to start. Are you enjoying yourselves?
Yes. Thank you.
Did you at least try to get to know the name of the person you're sitting next to?
No.
Can you please look at the person that is sitting next to you on your right or left and say, hi, I am X.
Hi, I am X.
Not X like your name.
Get the gaps aside.
Can you do that? Please. Thank you.
Am I supposed to keep my number?
Yes. Okay.
Is there any
If this was a 3-second movie, it would be called the elimination of introducing oneself. The next time you meet the person sitting next to you, you don't have to reintroduce yourself, right? You can just go, hi X, hi Y, right?
Hi X, hi Y.
Hi Y. All right. Okay, the fun is about to start. Please help me welcome the Table Topics Master, Tambu. Thank you, Madam Sergeant at Arms. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Toliswa says that the fun is about to start. I'm pretty sure this is fun for me, but not for you. I was saying earlier on to Snanzi that the only reason I took up this role is because I desperately didn't want to do a table topic. I would much rather take the entire session than do a table topic. But don't worry, the topics are easy. Fellow Toastmasters, visitors, guests, welcome again. Welcome to the second part. I'm glad you came back for more. I have prepared some topics meticulously. It took me months to do it. Google helped a little bit. And they have been taken up by some kind volunteers. Some not so voluntary, but they volunteered anyway.
Army style.
Army style. I will ask each speaker that kindly volunteered to come up one at a time and speak about his or her topic. And they're all asking at this point, you didn't give me a topic. I know, I'm going to surprise you with one. I'm evil like that, I'm a mom. The good thing is you only have to speak for 60 seconds. If you really like the sound of your voice like I do, you can do 120 seconds. This encourages us to think on our feet, like I mentioned before. Imagine this. You're in a meeting at work. There's a discussion going on, but you don't have much to say about it. Your boss's boss turns around and says, what do you think about it? Thankfully you don't have an counter there, but we need to be able to sometimes say something that makes sense on the spot, even if we haven't had time to think about it. Or imagine this, you're at a braai, and the person next to you says, well, what do you think about what Trump is doing? You may not have an opinion at that point, but it's a good place for you to think on your feet. Yeah, I know most of you have an opinion, but that would have been an easy table topic. It's not one of them. Yeah. Okay. This session helps us to be prepared for the unknown. Speakers, I'll call on you one at a time. When I call you, I will read out the topic, and you have 1 to 2 minutes to speak. I'm not calling you up in order of the number you chose. The number you chose is simply to randomize the topic that I give you. Okay. I'm going to encourage you to have fun and to conduct yourself with equanimity. My reminder to you is you're not competing with anyone. The point of the table topic session is just for you to be one better than you were yesterday. So you're competing against yourself. Don't worry about anybody else's table topic. For the rest of us, just because we don't have a topic, it doesn't mean we don't have a role. I'm going to encourage us to be supportive, attentive, to give some energy, and to create a safe environment, a fun environment for those that have been courageous enough to stand up here and speak. So, I would like like to call upon our first speaker, and that is going to be Adrian. Please help me with welcome Adrian Hand. Adrian, your topic is what motivates you to be your best? What motivates you to be your best? Adrian Hand.
What motivates me to be my best? Well, where I live, I belong to a little group. It's a lifestyle centre. Well, it's actually a retirement village. But I belong to a group called the Bubbly Bells. They're the ladies. And there's a group of men, their partners, called the Boozy Bows. So if I want to get sort of motivated, I like to drink. I like to drink wine. I like to drink beer. And I'll just give you an incident where, you know, it made me so motivated that I was celebrating a couple were going off to Australia, and we were sitting around the table there. The guy who was going away there kept on topping my glass of wine up. And I was, wow, boy, I was so eloquent in terms of telling stories and everything else there. So wine is a great motivator for me. But the only problem was, I was really so eloquent, I couldn't believe it. And then I stood up, and I remembered nothing after that until my wife, I was on my bed, coming round, I was totally out for the count. Apparently I had to carry me to the car and everything else there. So the message from this is, if you want to be motivated, don't do what I do. Use me as an example of doing the wrong thing there. I'm really motivated by drinking Castle Zero. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. I do have a theory. I believe in Darwin's theory of survival of the fittest. They say alcohol kills your brain cells. I say it kills the slowest and leaves the best. Please help me welcome Johan.
I know.
Johan, your topic will be, if you could go back in time, what would you tell your 13-year-old self? If you could go back in time, what would you tell your 13-year-old self?
Yeah, Madam Topic Master. That's quite an easy one. I would tell myself to really become a good mathematician, work hard for maths, so that I could go to a nautical college and work my way up to becoming a master mariner. And after master mariner, I'd like to be a harbour pilot and then become the harbour captain. The sea has always fascinated me, and yeah, to just be able to pilot one of those big ore carriers, that would be a real achievement. Madam Topic Master.
Next, I'm going to call upon Kanyane. Welcome to my torture chamber. Kanyane, your topic today is, if you won the lottery and became a millionaire overnight, what would you do with your life? What I have now, I think you
believe it's enough. Okay, I'm someone who likes sharing, so I have a lot of things that I'm planting around. I'll say seeds that I am planting around. So with that money, I'll keep up and then keep planting more seeds around me so that when they blossom, I'll not eat the fruit alone. That's it. Thank you.
I also love blossoming fruit, especially when it's linked to millions and it looks like money. So I will be your friend from now on, so you can really share your fruit. Next, I'm going to call upon Peter. Peter, your topic is, when was the last time you tried something new? Giving me the death stare. When was the last time you tried something new?
Thank you. Madam Toastmaster guests. That's a difficult one because it feels like life has forever been changing. It feels like there's a new thing happening every week. So trying to isolate one of those things. I would say the day that I walked into this room was a fresh thing for me. I'd never done Toastmasters, I've never done public speaking. The only speech I'd ever said in my life was at my wedding, and I didn't plan for it, and it wasn't very long. So I would say the day that I walked into Toastmasters was one of those decision-making times where it was the start of a new part of my life in terms of something new. And I'm going to blah blah a little bit until I get that green light. Thank you, thank you.
Well done, Peter. Thank you. Next, I'm going to call upon Simpiwe. Simpiwe, if the average human lifespan was 40 years, I'm not going to make you do maths calculation, don't worry. How would you live your life differently? Simpiwe.
Master, ladies and gentlemen, if the average lifespan was 40 years, how would I live my life differently? I think I wouldn't pause as much as I normally do. The topic resonates with me, leaping into things, because I'm definitely the toe-in kind of person. I always take my time in dipping my toe in. So I would have started the things I love a lot sooner, so forgetting about following the path of going to university, getting the right degree that my parents think is correct. And I've just done something creative with my talent. So I would have done writing, I would have traveled a lot sooner. I would push things up that scare me and not wait until I felt ready to do things or felt qualified. Because that qualification, you're never ready, actually, it never comes. So I stopped waiting to be ready if my life was shorter. Thank you.
I must say thank you to Simpiwe and to the two other guests that have volunteered to speak. That's incredibly courageous of you. If I had that topic, it would have been a very quick 10 seconds because I would be dead by now since I'm way over 40. I'm going to call upon Tando next.
Okay.
Madam Topic Master for forcing me to do the topic, which was failing or never trying. I think that one is quite obvious. I think the worst one is actually never trying. Because I think in life it helps to attempt things and gain experience, because through failures you gain experience. So I will say never trying is probably going to be the worst between the two topics. It's already green, so I was told I need to talk for 60 seconds. So thank you.
Thank you, Tando. We have one more person. So that you know that means you need to come up, right? I want to call out Olivia. I want you to help me welcome Olivia. Olivia, they say that we learn from our mistakes. If it's true that we learn from our mistakes, why is it that we're always so afraid to make mistakes? Olivia.
Thank you so much. My favorite topic. This is say, like the former topic say, is it's better to try and fail than not to try. So if you make a mistake, I don't want to try again, it means you're afraid. And fear is something in life that keep people down. If you're not afraid of anything, you go into it with faith on the former topic that we had, you'll be able to conquer the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. I'd like to say it was rather unfortunate for you to pick me as table topic master. I am a combination of a coach and a researcher. Both those jobs require you to be able to ask corny questions. But thank you for putting up with me. I would like to ask our timekeeper to please give us the time of this report.
Thank you, Adrian, 1 minute 51 seconds. Ian, 2 minutes 24 seconds. Peter, 30 seconds. Simpiwe, 4 seconds. 1 minute. Tando, 41 seconds. And Olivia, 39 seconds. Thank you.
I would like to encourage you on the slips in front of you to vote for who you feel might have been the best table topic speaker, and our sergeant at arms will come around and collect those.
Can you give us the names again?
The names again were, I'll give you the names and topics. Adrian spoke about what motivates you to be your best, and it was alcohol. Johan spoke about what he would tell his 13-year-old self if he had to go back in time. Kanyane spoke about how she would share her money with me when she became a millionaire. Peter spoke about the last time he did something new. Simpiwe spoke about what she would do if her lifespan was shorter. Tanda spoke about how failing is better than never trying. And finally, Olivia spoke about learning from our mistakes. I would like to hand control back over to
to our Toastmaster.
So thank you again. That's a very For all she says she's not, she's a great speaker, is Tambu, and actually a great table topic speaker too. Wait for club competition time and you'll see how good she really is. Although she tells you she's not that great, but she's a phenomenal speaker. So I do hope to hear her soon doing a speech at our club, because really a great speaker. And she had you on her toes and she explained it beautifully, and that's what I love about it. When we have people, we have in our club members who actually explain to you how does it work, all the do's and don'ts, and they really go into it in a comprehensive style. And that is what makes these meetings so powerful. If we just came and did it, you wouldn't know all the basis behind it. So well done on that. What is always very important is, it's not only the speech, but it's actually that feedback we get, because that's how we grow. If nobody ever told us that we were really bad, we wouldn't know. And I remember when I joined Toastmasters at Bacon Egg, where Jane is now, where I was, first day, the reason why I joined is the DTM there said to me, Lucinda, I know you're speaking, but what if people think that you are just terrible? And I said, I don't know. I know there's some voices in the dark here somewhere. What if you don't know? And I said, well, I don't. I never get feedback. And she said to me, and that's why you should join Toastmasters. Because you can speak all you want in your life, but if no one's going to dare to give you feedback, how are you going to improve? And this is where this is such an important part. I'm not going to say it's the most important part, because there are so many aspects in Toastmasters that are. But this is the breakfast of champions. If you want to be exceptional in life, you've got to make major changes. You've got to take major leaps. That's the exceptional people. The people that stand up, the Richard Bransons, the Steve Jobs of the world, the great people, Oprah Winfrey's, any of these great people, guess what? Life wasn't given to them in a silver spoon. They had to work for it. They had to do something different. They had to excel, and they took a lot of risks. And they would have handled a lot of feedback along the way. It might not have always been comfortable, and often it's not. But here it's a safe space that your evaluators come and they give you a very kind, constructive kind of feedback session. I don't want to say criticism, feedback session. It's what are you going to do about it? Are you going to take their feedback and grow, or are you going to take their feedback and shrink? Don't shrink. Because this world is yours for the taking. If you take what these guys give you and you come back here, you take one step forward and one leap forward and one more leap, in a year's time you might surprise yourself how far you've catapulted in this process called Toastmasters. It happened to me, and that's why I know it's right here in front of you. So on that note, I'm going to hand over to the evaluation chair, Noah, the VP of the club. Thank you.
Toastmaster, thank you. I want to welcome all our speakers and our evaluators to the session primarily. Thank you very much for all the great speeches we had today. I would want everybody to please give a hand of applause to all our speakers. The purpose of the evaluation session is to help our speakers to excel further in what they're already doing well, and to give them a bit of information and help to improve where they can. We have some very talented speakers here, but as we all know, there's always room for improvement. I'm going to start with just one general comment here that I see we do a lot of issues. We have a lot of issues with is that we tend to go over time with our speeches. We don't stick to the time limit that is allocated to our speeches. So I would just like to mention that so that each of the evaluators don't have to mention it when it's their time to evaluate their speaker. I'm going to call on Mandy to come and evaluate Peter. Peter's speech, sorry. Call on Mandy to come and evaluate Peter's speech, please. Peter, your name slipped me there for a second.
Thanks, Curtis. Morning again, and especially Peter. So I was privileged enough to watch your icebreaker two weeks ago, and you certainly have improved. So well done. You've taken those notes and you used them very effectively. I love the fact that you used the word of the day in the speech. That shows that you are agile and on your feet, thinking about those things. So mirroring, labels, and collaborative questions. You have certainly given me the tools to have equanimity in negotiations. So what we felt was that you brought your title throughout your speech, which I absolutely love, is when your title follows through your speech. You brought your book, which was Never Split the Difference, and you gave us 3 examples, which for us, we didn't understand why those 3. Perhaps they were the 3 that you felt you were using right now or were the most powerful for you. And if ever I'm in America and there's a hostage situation, I'll know what to do. But for real terms, I think you could have used better examples of it day to day when you're in work or with a relationship, something like that. So the FBI was a bit difficult for us to sort of just connect with. But I felt that your topic was really relevant and engaged your audience. The book limited your hand movements, and it wasn't necessary. So you could have kind of flashed us with the book and then put it down and gave us a bit of hand actions. We loved the fact that your voice was clear, and you really did explain your examples really, really well, which was fantastic. But you could maybe speak a bit slower. Your pause was fantastic. There were certain areas where you literally just kept dead quiet, and I felt that's a very valuable tactic. You spoke about hidden agendas, how to draw people out, and what to use to get people to talk, so that you actually know what's going on the inside by mirroring and labeling, and that's very, very clever. I shall try that with my children and let you know. So going forward, areas that you could work on is leave the book, use your hands, and perhaps just practice your speech a little bit in the way that you can give us a take-home, a stronger ending, a really powerful, this is where we're at. We look forward to your future speech when you come home to us. Thank you, Kudan. Well done. Thank you, Mary.
Our next speaker was Nandi, and I would like to call Ane over for her evaluation of her speech.
Nandi, you have a really radiant presence on the stage, and I was absolutely dazzled by your lovely shoes. What you did really well was that you had no notes and you had no nerves. You looked so comfortable up here. You absolutely owned the stage. What you did really well was you applied the previous evaluators' feedback, which was that you had to have a very powerful ending, which was connected to your intro. You had to work on your use of hands, and you had had to work on your voice variation. Your use of hands was really good, but we would like to challenge that you use your hands and you use your stage for a purpose, you know, because there was a little bit too much hands, you know, and there was also a little bit too much clicking, you know, with your high heels. You went left to right. I loved your saying, faith believes in the impossible, because in this day and age we all need to believe in miracles. We need hope, and I really like that. You also handled Hadrian's phone really well. The tip we would like to give you is that the next time pause and let him put it off, because whatever you said in that time was lost, because you know we were all watching Harold and waiting. Phone off, we weren't really watching you. You may want to work on your voice tone, although your voice variation was really good. Your tone was a little bit too soft, so you need to learn how to project yourself a little bit better across the room. We really, really loved your speech, and you're an absolute natural. Thank you.
Next, can I please call on Harold to evaluate Adrian's speech, please?
Mr. General Evaluator, ladies and gentlemen, and especially Adrian, I just love that impromptu introduction of yours, where you stood about leaping into faith and used the word of the day, equanimity, straight away, and actually gave me equanimity for this occasion right now. And I really enjoy the involvement and rapport that you have with the audience. You really do relate very well to everyone here, so I could see everyone was pulled into your story. So keep that up. In your last evaluation, Al pointed out that you look at the floor a lot, and that you do turn your back on the audience, especially if you look at your notes. And I've noticed that there is an improvement, but I would like you to work some more on it. I said to the evaluation group, I think his eye contact has improved, and they weren't too sure about it. And they said, but you know why? It's because Adrian was looking at you all the time, Harold. So, eye contact with more people in the room, and try and keep it there. Just work on it. Just your presence on the stage, if you can get a chance to look at the video, you'll notice your hands go like this a lot. And there was one other thing. Oh, you look at your notes a lot.
Yes.
Just watch your sources, how you quote them. The brains, the spaghetti brains and the waffle brains, you weren't very clear on the source where you got that from. I think that should be acknowledged. If you did, you weren't very clear about it. And then your speech is called Marriage for Dummies, and you quote from the author of The Prophet, and then tell us he was never married. That can cause a little bit of confusion. telling you or you're misquoting, just give your quote and say, with apologies to William Shakespeare or something like that. Right. I'd also like you to be clear about the purpose of your speech, why you're telling us, and work on your structure, which I would like to discuss with you afterwards. But I just love your facial expressions and the way you tell stories. For example, when you're talking about your wife shopping, and I could just see you in the shop there with the face. So, and that's what keeps us with you, is your face is alive. So keep working on that, because that actually is what makes your speech great. Mr. Henry.
Thank you, Harold. Thank you to all the other evaluators. I will be evaluating Helen's speech today. Assignment 4 from the storytelling manual, the touching story. Johan, thank you for a great speech. You really had us, when the story really started, I was sitting and I was listening. It kept my attention very well. You varied the invoking of the fear emotion for the superstitions with switching out with jokes in between. So you raised the tension a bit, then you released it, but then you raised it again, then you released a bit. And that was very effective for me as far as I'm concerned. You had great vocal variety in the dialogue parts of the story. Your voice got louder and softer where it needs to be. Your jokes, especially the self-deprecating ones, were very funny, about your broom hair standing up once. That was hilarious for me. I loved it. Your eye contact, it's where you were standing slightly to the left, but your eye contact tend to focus more to the right of the room. Maybe work a little bit on that one. I do understand your limited movement at the moment, so I would rather recommend that you maybe use the lectern to support you if need be, but you handled that very, very well. Finally, I would just say in this story, maybe having a clearer moral of the story for us to take over would be very nice to hear that. So in summary, very great speech, thank you. Small points of improvement, but generally you did very well. Especially the part where you were mimicking the smoking. I could actually picture the old man smoking his pipe there. It was very well done, thank you. Can you please all vote for the best evaluation, please, and then the sergeant's arm will pick it up for us.
Yourself, right? Purpose. Purpose. Why not?
What's here? There's a sticker.
What is that? When you smile, you get one.
A little vote for me. Let's see. Could we please have the timekeeper's report for the evaluations?
Thank you, Cobus. Mandy, 2 minutes 40 seconds. NA, 2 minutes 39 seconds. Harold, 2 minutes 51 seconds. Cobus, 1 minute 57 seconds. Thank you.
Madam Toastmaster, can I just confirm, am I doing the R count and grammarian?
You're welcome to.
Could we please have the R count report, please?
Yes, sure you can. Starting off with Lucinda. Lucinda only picked up 1 like and 3 ands. Peter, 7 ums and ahs. And then on the airs, I stopped counting and
25.
and she had 2 you know. Nandi, 3 ands. Adrian, 8 ums and ahs. 5 saws. Mine are not counted, by the way. And on the ends, I also stopped counting after 15. Is 5. Johan? 3 S and 12 ends.
Oh no.
Tambu. I didn't pick up on anything from there. Okay, I said mine don't get counted. On the evaluators, Cobus, 3 A's and ums, 1 saw. Mendy, 1 1 and, 3 saws, and 5 and. Anay, 8 ums and ahs, and 1 and. Harold, 2 ums and ahs, and 3 ends. Thank you.
Thank you, Snazzy. Sabrina, can you please have the grammarian report?
Certainly. I'll start with Snazzy. Your crutch words is actually, you had 2, and you had 3. But I know I wasn't supposed to do that, but
you're not allowed to come by.
With regards to the grammarian report, our Toastmaster has very colorful language, and it was very, very engaging. So you use phrases such as throwing the bones and see how they're going to fall. I literally injected a vitamin B and they said boom. And you use words like inconsequential, flutterby instead of butterfly. And this club is known to be agile, and we have difficult waters to navigate through. So this is good use of language. Thank you for that. And with Peter, in your speech, you used words such as methodology, mirroring, tactical empathy, and hostage killers, or just hostage people. And in your table topic, you said, I'm going to blah blah a little bit until I get that. So that's very interesting. I like that. And Nandi, in your speech, you educated us in the definition of success consciousness. And those who missed this, the definition is the state of mind where you see nothing else for yourself but success. Not that you might succeed, but that it is absolutely guaranteed that you will succeed. I think that's something to use. And in explaining your second principle, you used faith, and you said faith, love, and sex are the positive emotions. I did not know that, so I'm going to research it. And in closing, success, you explained success conscious mind. Again, ability to consciously focus on what you want to achieve, not what you don't have, which I think is a great definition. Adrian, you started your speech with Vive la de France, which was very, very interesting to hear and to learn. And you explained the brain, the spaghetti brain, and the waffle brain, again, to the new ones, and even the ones who had your speech before. That's interesting. And the clonk, clonk, clonk. So that came through again today, so that's very fascinating. and he used words such as, well, phrases such as your mind is like a control system and the hyper-empathy syndrome. And I also like the way you used balance. Instead of saying just the normal find a balance, you said a happy balance. Find a happy balance in how you handle your relationship. And I also thought in explaining the gentleman, after quoting the prophet, you said he was never married, but he had lovers in his life. So that was interesting that he had a very colorful and busy life.
If the lovers were good.
There were many.
There were many saying, oh my God, be good lovers.
And Harold corrected you on the code, but I thought it's fascinating. If you know you're going to mess up a code, it's good to say a quote from Shakespeare with a few alterations. If you know you're going to mess it up. People will forgive you. And Johan, in explaining, it was in the middle of winter, you said it was pitch black, which we could visualize and fully comprehend. And in explaining the fairies, you said the little people, the horrible little things, little fairies.
And a beautiful lady.
And he said his hair stood up like a broom. So that was also a great way of giving us a picture. Tambu, you're always so poised, and the way you phrase your sentences is lovely. And you said you're not competing against anyone, you're competing against yourself. And I think that's important because people feel like they're competing and I must give the right answer. So I thought that was good that you mentioned that. And I loved the fact that you said alcohol kills the slowest cells and leaves the best ones. And then you said, welcome to my torture chamber. And then Peter was giving you the death stay. So that was very interesting, the chamber. And then Kobus, you used self-deprecating. So that's a good word to use today. Try it out in your interactions. And Kanyani said, when the seeds are blossoming. So that's a good word in terms of spring is coming, things are blossoming. So I thought that was a good word to put in. And also just to think on your feet and bring that up. And lastly, Spiwe said, I'd stop waiting to be ready. So that sentence, I think we also just, because of fear, you just waiting to be ready. So stop waiting to be ready and just take a leap. Thank you very much. Sorry, word of the day. Toastmaster, Lucinda used it 4 times, Tambu twice, and Peter used it once, Adrian once, Gobas once, Johan once, Mendy once, and Harold once.
I think we can all agree that we had some great speeches today, and the evaluators generally did very good on their job. Me, of course, the exception, not being very blah blah blah. I struggled a bit with my calmness today, so I couldn't even use the word today properly. But thank you everybody for their great evaluations, the great speeches. This concludes my assignment.
So as you wish, so you shall receive, whatever those words are. For those that were missing in action when we gave out smileys, here come your smileys. So, was it better than you think? Smiley? No. Was today better than you think?
Yes.
No?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. I think it was. And that is what it's all about. I'm going to just quietly, quickly do a thing on timing Time is essential in Toastmasters. It's about life. It comes to respect. If I'm not on time and I'm meant to meet you for a coffee, an appointment or something, it shows that I don't respect and value your time. And so Abrina's looking at a watch. True. It's really important. It's really important in life. And I've hammered on this, and I don't know how many clubs I've actually attended this week. Time, 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 time. Please, people, we've got to be on time. And it's part of Toastmasters. It's what keeps us disciplined and what keeps the structure together. And so it is with our speeches. You've got 30 seconds lower than the first time. So if it's a 2 minute, let's take 2, 3, 4 for a table topic. You're in time at 1 minute 30 seconds. You are out of time at 3 minutes 30 seconds. So you've got 30 seconds either way to play with. But let's just keep it tight. Because when you go to competition one day, you do not want to be up here one day and have the most fantastic prepared speech or table topic and be disqualified. They will disqualify you with 1 second over or under without even a slight little twitch. Okay, so it's really important to do that. It also is very good for your discipline, your structure, and your speeches. Get to the point, hammer it. Opening, 3 sections, closing, make it impactful, tight. Tight almost run through like threads. And then you've got a speech, a winning speech to bring to the club going forward. That's my part on it. And in closing, we've done negotiation tactics. We negotiate every single day of our lives. I hope from Peter, you're going to take some of those things and apply them in tricky situations. When your boss calls you and puts you in a corner, I hope you're going to know how to negotiate using some of that. It might be FBI, buy the book, and I'm sure it'll give you some others. So there you go. But thank you, Peter. I've appreciated hearing you. It is our last time officially, but hopefully not the last time we get to see you. I don't want it to be the last time before I pass over. Certainly not. Success consciousness. A lot to think about. You have to dress for success. You have to think successfully. If you've got a poverty consciousness, guess what? You're never going to get there. I love the way you gave your example of what you've set your mind on for the end of the year for 2020. Awesome and inspiring words in that speech. And our Marriage for Dummies, and I have to laugh, because you don't use an example of a man why I came and teased you. You don't use an example of a man that never married and a gay man, or how. Then you bring in a typical heterosexual man and married for dummies. So I must say, I did love that one. But I love that speech. I always love the way you come in here and you just do it Adrian style. You know, you've got your own style, which is beautiful. And the storytelling was just, you know, stories are such a wonderful thing. And you taking out 1800s, I mean, that's way beyond our eras, but you're bringing it in. That's unless they preserved you very well. But thank you, and thank you to everyone for your speeches today. Thank you for every visitor, every guest that brought your energy and time here. You've come, you're present, you're part of this. To be made timekeeper for the first time and be thrown in the deep end and leap into action, well done. And now you've done timekeeper, and now you know how to do it. Yeah. And that's all about life. Once you've done it, you've been there, and now you know. So today, decide to take action and leap. And don't fear failure. It's something I learned, a man called the failure coach overseas, that I did a live with on Facebook the one day. And he actually prepares people for failure. He says if you can embrace failure before you do anything, it's almost impossible to fail. And he says he celebrates failure because it means he's one step closer to achieving every time. It was something that I applied in my life. When I had to go into Joe Parker's, and it was a stand-up comedy, he was doing this stupid, ridiculous idea of doing a lesbian stand-up comedy, first in South Africa, why the hell, I don't know, but I just leap in, deep in, love it. And I was terrified to the point that I was shaking. I remember the man, he said, you must get yourself ready for failure, except you're going to fail on that stage tonight. And I went into Joe Parker and I said to everyone, I'm going to fail. I am going to fail. And guess what? I didn't. And that was all because once you've accepted you can fail, the nerves go. Because the fear goes. And you say, here I am, raw, vulnerable for the world. I've got nothing to lose. What is worse? Regrets. And I don't want anyone in this room ever dying with a regret because you're too scared to try or too scared to fail. Take those leaps, take those giant steps, you might just be assisting this humankind of moving forward one step closer. So I'm going to suggest you one thing. No more Eeyore and lots of Tigger. And on that note, I'm handing the reins over to Mandy Murray to do the rest of it.
Right, thank you, Lucinda. We thoroughly enjoyed that. Right, now we are going to get to the fun part and hand out some awards. So, can we have a drum roll? Next great topic is Sipiwe. You get to keep the rhythm of the mic. Right, our best evaluator, drum roll. Done. One day I'm going to beat Harold. One day.
Getting ready to drum roll.
But before we drum roll, the president normally has the power to hand out what we call the Genie Award. Because I'm acting president today, I get to hand out the Genie Award. And our Genie Award normally goes to somebody who goes the extra mile, leaps into action, does something amazing, and you all did an amazing job. But Hamza, please come up and thank Hamza very much, and good job, well done. Right, and for our speaker of the morning, drum roll well done. Well done. Thank you everybody for a wonderful meeting and for preparing those amazing speeches and sharing with us. All the brave people for doing the torture chamber table topics and our evaluators for your feedback. Right, before I get on to our very exciting part of our meeting, I would like to move on a point. Anybody got anything on a point? Yes, Peter.
So, on 2 points, I'd like to say thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure to meet everyone here, and I've really had like an amazing time. And on my second point, I'd like to say Lucinda was an amazing Toastmaster, especially on my last day at Bryanston Breakfast Club. Thank you for all your positivity and your colourful ways. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Visitors, guests? How you felt about the meeting? Yes? Jane, hi.
This was a great meeting. exciting. It was good to be here. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
So, as for me, completely fresh, new, never seen Toastmasters before. It was a great experience. It was awesome. The speeches. I think there's some really good speakers, and it was very cool. So thank you.
Great.
My name is Olivia. I'm not a Toastmaster yet member, but I think in a few days or week, I don't know when they start, I will be joining the Toastmaster Club because I really enjoy this.
Quick guys, form and credit card machine. Oh
yeah.
Thank you to ears.
Just one thing, I have put a couple of things in the group saying when I'm speaking or Toastmaster, wherever I'm going, the role's up for grabs. I'm moving around quite a few clubs at the moment because as coach I have to. Take the opportunities, come out and learn, because Sabrina was with me, I took Annika to speak at Santon this week. You learn a lot in other clubs, and the club I was at yesterday said by having me there yesterday I learned a lot. You learn a lot and you get a lot more confidence going out. So when I do get those opportunities, jump at them, leap into action, because they're going to help you to propel you in Toastmasters quite a lot.
Thank you, Cassandra. Right, from my side, a couple of things. To Mom and Granny of Peter, thank you for joining us and happy birthday to you. Peter.
It was our pleasure.
Thank you.
Very interesting indeed.
Yes. Peter, we shall miss you. Thank you for being part of our lives, and hopefully we will see you before you leave or before we're all in our grave. Trophies, please leave them behind. I know they're beautiful and shiny, and yours, it looks like you can rub it and magic will come out of it, but please leave it behind on the table before you go, but your ribbons you can take. And Kobus, where are we with uploading our videos? Because I've got people asking and they want feedback.
Yeah. I've uploaded them all, but I forgot to share the link, sorry. I
Okay,
uploaded them
so
all.
you're cool, you're happy, you're sorted. Right, fantastic.
I'll send the link today.
Thank you. So we've got an exciting meeting coming up in October, and in preparation to that meeting, I am going to do something a little bit different. So besides Anae and Lucinda, can our members please stand? And are you all sort of going to be at the meeting in 2 weeks? Harold, stand up. Are you coming? Hamza? Thank you. Nancy? Would you ask your make it back? Now you have to. Right. Wait, choosing role.
Very clever.
No, very clever.
I've got to find victims every week. I've got to be on my knees. I bring fizzers. It's absolutely crazy what I do.
So what is it?
You are an amazing grammarian. Your husband is a hot shot. This would really, really well. Right. Thank you. Now, I would need to know who's got what. Can you what?
Toastmaster?
I can't hear you. No, we've confirmed now. I will help you. Lucinda's available on call all day. Right, Adrian?
I'm evaluator, which is quite nice because I think in my
that is part of your next journey.
Yeah.
Well done.
Mine says, congratulations, you have no role in this next meeting.
No swiping.
Registration.
Oh no, Harold. Harold, are we back in the torture? Are you two lying?
No,
she's okay.
never lied.
You got who's swiping?
Nobody. I don't know who's
Yeah,
what.
but She's
swapping
never
out.
and she's evaluating. She's never evaluated, so she wants to swap.
Okay.
So I think it makes
Poor Tambu.
evaluation check.
Okay, Tambu, are you evaluation check?
Apparently.
Okay, Snanzi?
Grammarian, but I wanted to do a speech, so I'm not so sure whether I can do grammarian and speech as well.
So the reason why
she'll do both.
Yeah.
So the reason why I asked Danae and Lucinda to sit is because we've already got 3 speakers who asked me last week if they can speak at the next meeting.
Oh.
So I shall schedule you for the following speaking session, which gives you
more time to
not to back out. Is that okay? So
Also
I'm going to note you already. Grammarians, Nancy, you've got big shoes to fill, hey? Brina listens like,
I'm
wow.
a good listener, but yeah.
She's
That's why I'm
amazing.
here as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah. Hans, what did you get? What did you get? Our counter. Yes. Okay.
Evaluation.
Evaluator, Nandi, Abrina.
Timekeeper.
You've done that.
Yeah.
Johan,
An easy one.
SAA.
Sergeant.
You're going flying. Right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you picking. And if anybody has a... Okay, being forced to pick. Okay, you were forced to pick. Wonderful. I have one of these. Okay, if anybody is not comfortable or happy, you can let me know and we will try and adjust it. The whole point of doing something like this is to embrace the unknown, to leap into action, to face that fear, and to just try and be agile. Nobody's judging you, there is no right or wrong. So if anybody is really, really feeling terribly uncomfortable, they can let me know and we can make another plan. So on that note, I have nothing else to say. On the points finish, I'm so sorry, the doors are closed. Oh yes, where's my survey paper, Tombo? So for our members, I don't know if Tambo managed to get through to everybody at tea time, but
except for Hamza, Harold and Kobus.
Okay, so Hamza, Harold, Kobus, before you run away, I just need you to fill out the 20-page survey that's there quickly. If you can just quickly, it's literally 4 little blocks. I would appreciate it, and Tambo, thank you for your help. That brings our meeting to a close. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a great weekend. Thank you. Okay.
Who does speak to
After that military volunteer.
Hold on, yeah.
Yeah.